It's Weekly Drip. Look at you two lovely people on the show. How are you both feeling today? Abs, are you good? Have you stopped chasing the bird around your house?
Yeah, I'm good. If you hear anything, it's my mum trying to clean up all the blood off the floor in the
Oh,
living room.
no.
Honestly, terrible.
Just so you know, Abs doesn't live on a farm, but there's a bird. The cat, your cat, just brought a bird in, didn't it? Dragged a bird into
Yeah,
the house.
literally within the last 5 minutes, just dragged it through the
so,
house.
so Abigail's Monday started very well. She's been chasing birds all morning. Leo, has your morning been quite as exciting as that, or has it been a bit of a calm one?
It's been a bit of a calm one, but I gotta say, with the Prem coming back, I'm buzzing, and I cannot wait. Like it feels like we've been waiting for a long time now, and this past weekend we'll discuss it. But I'm hyped now. I'm just buzzing.
I cannot wait for the Premier League. Like 6 days away. I just can't wait for it. It's been crazy. Like preseason's been a strange one, but I'm sure we'll talk about that in the show. For everybody that's joining in, please stay tuned every Monday because Weekly Drip, we're going to be bringing it to you every Monday. Look at the bottom, 12 p.m. usually, but Leo was an early bird this morning. How'd you get the pun there? Early bird, Abs have been chasing birds. He's an early bird this morning, so we're coming at 11 a.m. But we will be around this time every single week. Please follow everybody on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Leo's Goal. I always point to the wrong side. Leo's Goals. Abigail's got about 5 million accounts. So just type in Abigail R and I'm sure you'll find something on Abigail. But please do keep following. But as we like to start every single show, I want to come in with the what if this week. So let me get me on there. Get away from there, Leo. So let's start with the what if every week. Now, they might be rolling their eyes a little bit because they always do because I come with some craziness sometimes. But I feel like this is a sensible one. So this week's what if from me is referees being mic'd up. Now, we see referees in rugby, we hear umpires in tennis, you can hear lots of different officials in different sports, cricket. They're mic'd up. The only sport that's mainstream that isn't really mic'd up is football. So, Leo, do you think there's a place for it in football? Or do you think the profanities coming out of some football players' mouths may not call for this to be added to the Premier League or to the Champions League?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, but what popped to my mind first is actually VAR. Something that I think we should have more access to as fans is the decisions that happens behind the scenes in the VAR rooms, as we know, because sometimes you just don't quite understand what's going on. And it would be great for fans to be able to know, this is what they're looking at and things like that, because sometimes you feel like there's no transparency and then you're just kind of like lost. But with miking refs, I feel like should be more up to decision for them, in terms of what they feel comfortable with, because let's be real, it's a very difficult job. Like I've been a ref in amateur football, and I can tell you it's difficult. So with tens of millions of people watching, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? It's a whole different thing. So
I think I agree with you a little bit on that one. Abs, let's get you up here because I want your opinion on this one. We saw in the Community Shield at the weekend a few VAR decisions. Now, Leo's saying it would be nice to kind of get an insight as to what is going on in that room, in the VAR room. Is it just someone sat in their underpants back at home eating popcorn, or is there actually officials discussing the matter properly? Would you like to see this a bit more behind the scenes in what referees are deciding?
Yeah, 100%. If you remember when VAR first came in, sometimes they had like a camera in the VAR room. Do you remember? And it'd just be them looking at it. And the whole time it would be like silence or just the commentators like Carragher or whatever would be talking about it. Like being like, oh, I think they're looking at this. I want to literally know, like, oh, that's what they're looking at. Like, this is the clip that they're like slowing down. Like, this is the angle they're looking at it. And then I want to hear the ref, when he's going over to the screen and that. I want to know, like, because he's obviously speaking. You can see him speaking, going, oh, well, I want to know what he's saying. Because I sit there literally trying to lip read them most of the time. I'm like, I think he's give that, like that.
It's
like,
true, though, isn't it? Like, that's the moment.
At home, though. Yeah. We'd know at home if he'd give it or not, because he'd probably go, yeah, that is, before the crowd knows. So there's a bit of like that, isn't it? Where it's like, should we really know before the crowd?
We see them speaking to each other and we're like, what's the decision? What decision is being made? If the referees knew, like, don't say give the penalty, don't say whatever, just discuss what you're going to do. Tell them to look at the monitor for X, Y, and Z. because that's what happens in rugby. It's clear. It's like they put on report for such a thing, or they might say, oh, could you look back at this? The try's just been scored. Could you see if it was an offside? That would be nice, just for clarity, because let's not forget, yes, it's about live football and fans in the stadium, but those viewers at home who can't make the game, that's a nice little extra for them to be able to see behind the scenes, isn't it, Leo?
No, 100%. I think it would be so. It would make a lot more sense as well, just for in terms of entertainment and bringing the game to the next level. And this is probably the only thing from American sports which I think would be good, is just having clarity over some of the decisions. Because, like we said, sometimes, like Ab said, like from the replay, you look and you don't really know what they're looking at, and sometimes you're like, did they actually look at this angle, or and it would be much better for all football fans to just know actually what they're looking at, so we know where the decision came from. Because sometimes it's, we've seen what's happened, for example, against Everton. I'm still traumatized from the 2-2
traumatized by everything.
where there was that Pickford decision on Virgil, and then that last minute winner, I think it was from Hendo, and they decided Sadio was offside. That was not offsides, so it's just, there's certain decisions which just stick in my mind, and I gotta say the trauma's still there from that one, and
the trauma's definitely
I haven't gone over it.
Do you know what though? We all say this, but VAR in its own way is improving slowly but surely. It's becoming a little bit faster. It's becoming more natural. We're used to it, so it's a good part of the game. But we want to see Mike's reffed up. That's all we're saying. Let us know what they speak about. But this is Weekly Drip, and every single week on this show we have a moment of the week, a memory box. We have a lost property bin of the week, and it's not going to be a nice one this week, I'm afraid, and I'm so sorry. I apologize in advance. And then we have a trophy cabinet, that player that's been a baller of the week. So let's start with our memory box this week. There's two moments this week, and I want to start with the one that we have to start with, this one, because it's monumental. England is coming home. The Lionesses have done what the men couldn't do. It's so fitting because, Abs, you probably get this all the time, trying to be a voice of football and being a woman. We've seen it before, people giving you the sexist abuse and things like that, and we back you up on this show. But how nice is it for those people that come on and they're like, oh, women and football, women can't do sport, for the Lionesses to go and achieve this immortal status before the men? I kind of love it. I don't know about you, Abs, but what a moment in footballing history.
Do you know what the thing is? Like, I don't normally support England, like I've said this to you before, but I just wanted it to happen for the girls, for the women, do you know what I mean? Because it felt like it opened doors to people acknowledging female footballers in this country, especially, do you know what I mean? Like, it gives them a bit more of a platform, especially I think it was in 87,000 in the crowd, and it looked like it was all positive vibes. There was no negative chants, nothing like that. It just looked like positive. I'm not saying that I'd want Anfield to be like that every match day. I don't. Do you know what I mean? I still like the way our atmosphere is. Yeah, I still want that, but I don't I really enjoyed seeing families and little girls in the kit, getting dead excited about it, knowing that that could be them one day. It weren't about supporting club and country or whatever. It was more just about the girls being able to do it. Do you know what I mean?
It's so true. Leo, in a situation like this, when you look at what's been achieved, everybody now is saying, oh, we need more women in football. We need to push this sport. We need to push this side of the game. Do we do that a little bit too much instead of living in the moment? Because this moment for those women on the team and for everybody in the country, this is a big moment. Should we, instead of thinking, right, this needs to happen now and looking ahead, should we live in the moment for a little bit and just enjoy what's happened, celebrate this huge achievement, by the way?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But I also think that you gotta take the success of this moment, and like Abs was saying, this is the record attendance I saw actually for Wembley for men or women. It was over 87,000, and I was looking as well this morning. It peaked at 17.5 million viewers on BBC One, which is just crazy numbers. And and I think once they get those type of numbers, that's when they can have more and more resources. And I think it was always about a question of giving them the platform. I never believed that it was a question of people not being interested, because we've seen it now. When you give them the platform, that's what happens. And And so I was so happy to at least to be seeing the numbers, with Barcelona too this season, just what the women's game has achieved this season. It's exciting, especially in terms of resources, because the reality is they don't nearly get enough resources, and I think that's because before they were turning a blind eye, saying, "Oh no, the large
Yeah.
majority of people don't care," but we're seeing that's not true.
I
So
love that you've mentioned the resources because I think that's what it is. I don't think it's a matter of getting the girls into football at grassroots
yeah,
level. I think it is a matter of the top end of the game, give them the resources,
okay.
make professional contracts a little bit more lucrative, get our best athletes wanting to play football now if you're a woman. Because if you look in the past, Abs, it's always been athletics, tennis, swimming, gymnastics. It's never been this football, but there's never been an achievement as big as the Lionesses now lifting the European trophy. I can't think of anything besides Kelly Holmes and Jessica Ennis-Hill and people like this. It's a huge moment now for football and the women's game to just take off, isn't it? And with Liverpool in the WSL next season, I'm really excited. I don't know about you.
Well, that's another thing, isn't it? Because the derby's going to be at Anfield this season.
Yeah.
That's massive. Do you know what I mean? And I honestly think they'll sell it out or be close to selling it out. Like I'm gonna go. I'm so excited about that. That's that's progression in itself, really. Do you know what I mean? To know that the demand is there. Like Wembley sort of showed that. I know the derby was booked in before that, but you could see it in like the semis and stuff like that. Like the demand is there now to go to women's football and to like acknowledge that they are talented, because there will be people that'll like dismiss them. Like on Twitter this morning, the first thing I seen when I opened Twitter was like, yeah, but play these women against the League One's men's side and they'd
Yeah.
lose. And I just think like, why make the comment? Do you know what I mean? Like that's the men's game. This is the women's game. There's amazing skill and everything in the women's game. Do you know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
don't get why you'd even make the comment. But we're progressing past that now, and like people in the comments were pulling them up on it. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm just glad that people are appreciating it, and I do hope that like the derby is going to be full, if not as
Yeah.
close as it can be. And I do think it will now. I honestly think that the Euros have given that platform for the women's game to start getting more attendance. Like I'm definitely going to start going more myself
Yeah,
personally as well.
even those lower league stadiums, they've been being sold out in the preliminary matches leading up to the final. So it's been amazing. But I like what you say in terms of people trying to compare and contrast, saying they wouldn't beat a League One men's side. I think there's no need to do that comparison. Is the women's game at the level of a Premier League? No, because it's still behind, it's still progressing. You look at the Premier League when the Premier League started, the level has gone up because it's had the funding, it's had the access, it's had all of this. The women are unbelievably talented. You don't go to the Olympic Games and then say, oh, yeah, but the Commonwealth isn't as important. Everyone's watching the Commonwealth Games now. The standard's not as high, but they still get the views. They still get the accolades. So I think to compare the women's game with the men's game, there's no need now. Let's just celebrate like they've won a professional major European trophy. That's the elite level of their sport, and that's all we need to know. So, Lionesses, you've brought it home. Yes, I love it. I love it. I'm going to celebrate in this one for weeks. I want documentaries. I want everything. I want behind the scenes footage. This is what I love. I love seeing like what's gone into the making of getting this trophy and achievement. But we talk about trophies, Leo. We talk about achievements. Our second moment, we have to put it up. Look at those two. Oh, Diaz, Nunes. It's just a beautiful time to be a Red Community Shield. Leo, tell us about that game, because I don't want to get too excited, but how can you not after that performance in the Community Shield on Saturday?
No, and what I love, and I think Klopp was really intelligent with this, and I was kind of like you, remember before the match, we were kind of like disappointed with the team sheet. We were like, why are we just going with the same old, same old? But I actually agree with Klopp, and it kind of reminds me of the trophy parade. No, I mean the parade that we had after losing the Champions League final.
Yeah,
It's like I feel like Klopp used this occasion, and we're not saying it's the biggest occasion. We all know it's not a major
yeah,
trophy, but he knows how to use moments to propel us. And I felt like he used this Community Shield as a way to just make all of us dream, get all of us pumped for the season, and he knew that this can be like be used as a weapon almost for the season. And I think that the way that it went down is really like I think I said before, but just like if you had a dream the night before about how it could have perfectly gone between Nunes and Erling Haaland, it was really like icing of the cake when
Yeah.
Haaland missed at the end, when it was like a sitter at the end. It was just like everything you would have dreamed of kind of happened for us, So
Do you think, I like this comment from Mark A in the comments, appreciate it, Mark A. Anyone watching the show, please leave comments, we'll pin them up. But he's saying the Nunes chants were exhilarating. That's the difference, and that was the difference in the game for me. When Nunes was coming on, the chants for Liverpool fans, the roar from the crowd, the way that they backed him, every touch, every chase, every press, they were behind Nunes. Whereas the Man City fans, there was none of that for Erling Haaland. That just shows, doesn't it, what is so special about Liverpool?
And I love as well his celebration when he won. I don't know if you guys saw, but he took off, he obviously took off his shirt and then he was just pointing to the crest and he was just going like this. And that just like that just shows he already knows how much this club means. And he would have seen it from just like, you can be real, it's kind of like a preseason trophy. You know what I mean? It's not a proper trophy, but he sees already the power of this football club and he's gonna give absolutely everything, like we see Diaz. I know he's your favorite, Ash, but that boy Diaz, he's seen how special in just 6 months this club is. And I'm sure he would have told Nunes, they played in the same Portuguese league before. He'll tell him, give absolutely everything because these fans are gonna love you.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing that. So
Abigail, there's been a lot of talk this summer about we need midfielders, we need this, we need that. Nunes has come in, Sadio's gone. I was a doubter, I'm not going to lie. I thought there's going to be a massive hole left. I knew the talent of Nunes, and I've said this from the start, he would be a great addition. Did you expect it to go as well as it has so far with the 4 goals against Leipzig and then to come on, fairy tale moment, score a goal against Man City, that's the elite level. Did you expect it to go this well at first?
Do you know what? I never. I thought he'd need like a bedding in time. Like when you think of like Robbo and Fabinho, they all needed time to bed in. And like I know you can go back to Keita, still feels like he's not reached that like top point. But all of these players have needed times to bed in. And I honestly thought Nunes would need that. I didn't even expect them to bring him on, to be honest. I'm glad that he did. I'm glad that he did.
I think
now.
we're all glad that he did.
Oh yeah, oh boy.
Yeah. But when you're sorry,
the birds attacked Abigail. It's attacked Abigail's camera. The birds back.
Sorry. Basically, what I was thinking was when you looked at like even like Firmino, Diaz, like we replaced Mane in January, and I honestly don't think we would have bought Diaz if there wasn't like Spurs interest in January. Do you know what I mean? But Diaz straight off the bat being brilliant. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know why it comes as such a shock to me anymore. Do you know when players like Nunes come in and they're just like firing on all cylinders straight away? I know it was a pre-season game, but to have that over Man City now, right at the beginning, and the fact that, I mean, I know Pep said it weren't true, but they didn't go up and get the second place medals. Do you know what I mean? It's as if there's like, like they've walked off in a bit of a straw. Do you know what I mean? They wanted to win that game because the way they celebrated when they had the equaliser.
100%.
But then they're taking the mick out of us, the way we celebrated when we won. Do you know what I mean? When you think about it, I mean, if they'd have won it, they'd have been going, oh, we've won the league, all this, like, this is it.
We've said that, like, I think that's the Community Shield in a nutshell. If you win, you're like, bragging rights, we've got a trophy. If you lose, you're like, oh, it's just a pre-season friendly, it doesn't matter. We've been there before, but we got our hands on it, and that is all that matters. We've got bragging rights. That's a big psychological boost moving into the start of the season. But Leo, when we mention things like people coming into the team and settling in straight away, it's the players that have been there for a while. They make it so easy for these new players. I'm talking about Mo Salah had an unbelievable game. We're seeing a new Mo Salah this season, by the way. And Virgil van Dijk, to deal with Haaland the way he did, effortless, not a physical battle, a mental battle, tactical, whatever you want to call it.
Unbelievable.
Pound for pound, right now, I think we've got the 2 best footballers on the planet in Virgil van Dijk, Mohamed Salah. And some people might even say Thiago and Diaz.
Yeah.
If you look at these positions now, we talk about Man City. If I look through Man City's team, the only player I can point out as maybe being the best in their position in the world could be Kevin De Bruyne. Aside from that, there's nobody else who's the best in the world. Liverpool have at least 4 or 5 players in their individual positions that are best in the world. Is this why Carvalho, Elliott, Nunes, is this why they hit the ground running? Because they've got so much talent around them, do you think?
Exactly, and I think also we've previously talked about it, but I think not having too much pressure when you come into a big football club like Liverpool is a massive thing. You have someone like Nunes who came in, and Klopp said in his first press conference, we already have so much firepower in our team that if he doesn't score the first few games, no problem. You know, so long as he's learning our system, that's okay. You know, we have the team to be able to let him do that. And I also want to give a shout out to Thiago because, you know, you talked about gelling into the team, and we saw in those preseason inside trainings, he was always the one translating for Nunes. He seems like he's become such a leader in the dressing room. Like you see, you see all those videos. I really see Thiago being a leader, and then you see him on the pitch on Saturday. My God, he was so good.
Is he the player that you love watching? Like I love Diaz.
Yeah.
I love watching Diaz because he works so hard.
Yeah.
But in terms of football,
yeah,
Thiago is just the perfect footballer, isn't he?
And what I loved on Saturday as well is he got involved in a bunch of like clumsy challenges type thing where it shows that even if he's like the most talented, I would say maybe the most gifted alongside KDB in the league, he also is not afraid to get into a scrap. And I love that, you know, because sometimes these like perfect footballers who can do everything will be like kind of protecting themselves and stuff, but he doesn't do that. And then the other who you're saying, I gotta say Virgil, we talked about him before. And it's rare to say because he's a defender, he's a center back, but he's such a joy to watch. Like you watch him and you're just like, what is this? Like the passes that he pulls up, you're just like, who is he? Like why? How is everything perfect? No, but exactly, everything is just so perfect that you're like, what is he made of? How has he become so good? Also later in his career, that's what I find fascinating. Someone as good as that, how is it possible that he was playing at Celtic when he was 23, 24? And I know that's young nowadays for a center back, but still, it's just like it's like I find it mind blowing. Like it's
and Virgil come out and said, didn't he, that last season he was still playing within himself because of the injury, and he said, look at next season and the season after, that's when I'm going to hit my peak. Like, if that's not Virgil van Dijk at his peak, if I'm a striker, I am petrified right now in this world. But Abs, we talk about Mo Salah. Now, Mark A is saying he only caught 15 minutes, but it seems like Salah had Cancelo on the ropes. That first 15 minutes of the game was peak that was Mo Salah I've never seen before, because he was working so hard. His first touch was brilliant. His link-up play, he did nothing wrong. Do you think we'll see a new Mo Salah this season? Do you think he's going to come out there and play with freedom? He looked like he had a smile on his face. He was dancing after the game to "One Kiss, It's Holidays." Do you know what I mean? Do you think we'll see a new Mo Salah this season?
I wouldn't say a new one, but I'd say the one from the first half of last season will be back again. Like, he was absolutely shattered by the end of last season. Like, he squoze everything out of himself that he could, to the point where, like, honestly, I don't blame him towards the end of the season not getting like a couple of goals the way he was in the first half. I wouldn't say a new one, but I'd say the one that we already know is there. Do you know what I mean? He was unbelievable. Like, watching it, I was like, here he is. Do you know what I mean? This is the Salah that we know and love. The one season wonder from about 4 years ago.
Yeah, the 1 season wonder.
Exactly, that's the thing. But just the way we played, it was just I'm made up, and I hope that we carry on like that. Even if at the start of the season we're not like starting Nunes or anything, I don't expect him to be starting, but you know Salah's gonna score some major goals this season. Like, he's gonna rack up the numbers. I'd put money on him to win the Golden Boot again. Definitely.
Yeah,
100%.
It's difficult because look at the way Nunes is playing. It's the first time, and I like this comment here from Mark A saying Salah does well with number 9s, i.e. Dzeko when he was at Roma, expecting the same with Nunes. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top of that battle, and whether it gets like the Sadio versus Mo when we felt like they were competing against each other. I feel like it's a different vibe now with that front three, Leo. I feel like Liverpool.
I'm in love.
It's crazy. We used to play with a false 9, Now it just looks like we can dominate games and we can dominate possession, create chances, and win a game comfortably now, rather than inviting people on for a counter attack.
Yeah, and what I love is you look at that front three, and Bobby, Bobby is outstanding. But if you look at the front three once Nunes came on, just imagine how much of a handful that is for a defense when you have Diaz on one side, who's just non-stop, can do everything. You have Nunes, and what I love about Nunes is even he's gonna need time to adapt. It's normal, but I love how he's just getting involved in everything. You see him just running after everything. You see him wanting the ball, like everything. Imagine for those two center backs, that's going to take so much of their attention when he's on the pitch. And then you're going to have Mo, who's just going to have room to just destroy the fullback, the left back. And that's what we saw with Joao Cancelo, So imagine like the space that could open up for Mo as well when they have to handle that those Nunes runs, the intelligent runs from Nunes. It's just going to be like, I'm like, thank God I'm not defending against that front three. You know what I mean?
That's it. Like I said at the end of last game, I said, Abigail, I said that Liverpool's that front three right now of Diaz, Nunes, and Salah. I think that is the best in the world. It might not be in terms of trophies or whatever, but in terms of, I wouldn't swap one of those players for any other player. If you offered me any player in world football to swap with those in those positions, I'm not taking anybody. So imagine being a defender, Abs, coming up against Diaz, who is just relentless. Like, he doesn't give you a minute. He's unbelievable. He's dribbling, like his link-up play, everything is just amazing. Then you've got Nunes, who is physical. He wants to run in behind. He's going to cause you all kinds of trouble.
In the air. I thought in the air.
An aerial threat. Yeah. Then you've got Mo Salah, potentially the best player in the world, who he's going to come back on his left foot, but he will go on his right if he needs to and score from his right. Like, that front three is. Do you think it's the best in the world? It's got to be.
I do think it's the best in the world. I mean, I know we haven't had Nunes long enough to be saying this. That's the only thing. But I think, like, Klopp's got his man. I trust Klopp all the time. Like, if that's who Klopp wanted, like, people at first were like, oh, spending that much money on him. Like, he's only had one good season. Klopp knows what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? That's why when people say stuff like, oh, I'm glad we never bought Werner in the end and stuff like that, I always think, like, yeah, but you don't know what Klopp would have done with him. Yeah. That's the thing with me. You look at other players and you're like, oh, well, they were a flop. And I just think under Jurgen Klopp, you're different. It's different. He'll develop you into a world-class player all the time. Do you know what I mean? We have so many leaders in our side as well. And that's because of Klopp being such a great leader. And I can just see Nunes is going to fit in perfectly. I know he's going to be world-class. So I just don't think any of it is premature. So maybe we do have the best.
Abs, do you think, I like what you've said in terms of it's all because of Klopp. Do you think that before that game I was saying, oh no, Klopp is being loyal again, same old, same lineup. Do you think that's actually what makes him so special and makes these players so good? Because if they perform badly, they don't need to worry because Klopp is going to go, do you know what? Just go back at the next game. I believe in what you can do. Go out and perform to the levels you can. And that's what we've seen with Nunes in pre-season. Everybody was saying, oh, Nunes can't hit a barn door, like he's going to be a flop. And then Klopp just went, you know what, go out there, play your own game, 4 goals, and then to score in the Community Shield. Is that Klopp's strength? There's
a sense of trust. There's a sense of trust there, isn't there? Like, Klopp trusts all his players. He knows, he sees them more than we do. Do you know what I mean? Pre-season, training, everything. He knows what they're capable of. And there will be times when players will have bad games and, like, all over Twitter, everyone will be saying, why did we play him? You know, and that could be multiple players. Do you know what I mean? Like, Curtis Jones has been getting stiff again. And I just can't stand all of that. But I trust Klopp because he sees the potential in them. He knows what they're capable of. And honestly, I do. I think it's all down to Klopp's strength. If we had any other manager in the world with the same group of players, like, even if we swapped Pep and Klopp, like, Pep couldn't do what Klopp's doing. That's the thing. No. Klopp could do with Pep's side exactly what Pep's doing, but maybe even better with more money. I mean, who knows? But Pep couldn't come to Anfield and do that. And I 100%, he's an amazing manager. Don't get me wrong, Pep's brilliant, but he couldn't do what Klopp's doing. And Klopp is a Liverpool man. Even his politics, his personality, everything about him, it is Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? He gets us, he fits in perfectly. And I think all the players like well-rounded, and they're exactly like him. They learn from him. He's a great teacher. They all love him. So yeah, I do. It's all down to Klopp for me, because when you look back to the times before Klopp, I don't even like to think about it. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's only Klopp that could do this for this club. Like, one day when he's gone, he'll be up there with like Shankly, Paisley. He's gonna be on them banners and them posters forever. And he's perfect. We couldn't have found a better fit. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're so many years in now, and I'm so grateful, and I hope he stays forever.
Speaking of perfect, I think Bogdan thinks you're perfect, Abby. I think you've got a new number one fan in Bogdan. Abby, he loves you. But what you're saying is so true in terms of Jurgen Klopp has created this culture. And I think what we need to realize is appreciate it while it is here. And I know it's frustrating. I think everyone's frustrated. I've become a bit frustrated, Leo. I don't know about you, that in this pre-season, all we've asked, we just want a little bit more quality and depth. Yes, we've signed Nunes. Carvalho's looked amazing so far. We've not seen Ramsey yet, but what we want is that extra player, like Man City do. They go out and buy extra players just to pack the squad out, just in case. I think that's what we want as Liverpool fans, because if we can't win major trophies in this time when Jurgen Klopp is here, we're going to struggle when Klopp isn't here. So do you think that's what the frustration is? It's not in Klopp, it's not in the team, it's just in the fact that let's dominate while this is the perfect opportunity. We've seen what we can do. If we sign two, maybe a right winger and a central midfielder now, of the quality to just come and step in and do the job, no one's beating us this season, are they, if we can do that?
No, I totally agree. But what I wonder, and I would love to know this, is whether it's actually Klopp who doesn't want more players, or whether it's the hierarchy, whether it's FSG who are saying you can't buy a player unless you sell one, and I have seen reports that Klopp actually is happy with the squad, but we can't know if that's true or not. We can't know. I have a feeling that if he could sign a Jude, I think he would want to sign a Jude. That's my personal feeling, because he's a winner. He wants to win, and he knows what a player like that could bring, and how he could take us to the next level. So I do think probably for example, Ox, we're going to get onto Ox, but I think he probably, if an offer would have come in, they probably would have accepted it. And I probably think that means they didn't get an offer. And so I agree. It's that frustration, but at the same time, it's also this feeling that we're doing something that's so special that all these other clubs that have unlimited funds kind of will never be able to achieve. And I think we can go on to win more trophies this season. And we've already won the whole lot, so
they've already won every trophy there is to win. I mean, Liverpool might just finish sixth this season just so they can win the Europa League under Klopp. I don't know, just to prove a point. You never know. That's what my argument is if we finish sixth. But speaking about transfers and people coming in, we move on to a part of the show that might not be great to hear for everyone, but it's lost property. And this part of the show belongs to the one, the only, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. No, Abigail, I don't want to be disrespectful of Ox, because he's been a Liverpool player. He, in that 17, 18, 19 especially season, he was probably the first name on England's team sheet when they were coming to international matches. Injuries haven't done well for him, but also being played out of position multiple times, being right wing, centre forward, like he's never had that chance since he came back from injury to kind of cement himself in central midfield. But 120k a week, it's just, he needs to go, or we need to find a way out for him now, don't we?
He needs to go. He needs to be going and getting consistent game time, but he's so injury prone. That's the thing. It's even if he does move on, he might get injured there, but 120k is a lot. You know what I mean? That could be saved. But Klopp said, didn't he? There'll be no more incomings unless we get injuries or more people move out. So, and this is apparently sounds like a serious injury for Chamberlain, so that might cause some movement as well. Do you know what I mean? We might end up signing someone, but I agree with Leo. If an offer came in for Chamberlain, he was going. Do you know what I mean? But I think the thing with Chamberlain was, I thought he'd be the League Cup, the FA Cup for us this season, because Tahi's gone now, and he was basically the top goal scorer for that.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to put all our eggs into the bigger baskets this season.
Yeah.
We've won the other two now. I'd
Mhm.
imagine the kids will probably see a lot of Carvalho there. Maybe that's where Ramsey's going to start playing. I mean, he's not kicked the ball yet, I don't think, and he's injured. But I'd imagine they're the games that we're going to put him into. Maybe give Gomez a bit more game time, but I'm hoping that Gomez gets quite a few Premier League games now. I mean, I love him. But going back to Chamberlain, I thought like those sort of cup games would be where he could shine, try and get himself out there. But the injuries, and it's wanting to get him in the shop window as well, you know, to not get rid of him, but, you know, to sell him. People don't want to say, oh, well, we haven't seen him play for like 9 months and he's injured and then his injury record is not good. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's sort of a case of letting him go when we can, but I don't think he'll be going this summer if he's injured, and I think someone would have put an offer in for him by now if they really needed him.
Yeah, Leo, that's the case, isn't it? I want to just pin some of these up because I feel like the fans are agreeing with us, and it's a bit brutal, but we've got Ox out petition.
Oh,
then
no,
we've
that's
got
all.
Ox needs to go more than those flyaway balls we used to use in primary school. Gee, come on, dear me. And we've got Ox needs to go, a huge liability. Terminate the contract respectfully.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go that far.
That's a bit much, Mark.
Do you know what it is, though? I think people are frustrated because you can blame Ox in a sense, but he's not got the chance to get a run of games. He's not got a chance to play in his normal position. It's not his fault that he's being paid £120,000 a week. It's not his fault that he gets injured a lot. That's just the way it is. That might be the demand that's put on us in training. We see a lot of injuries in central midfielders. So I think before it gets a little bit too bitter now is the time where he needs to go. Does he drop his wages? Does he leave on a... I don't know. Because if you think about the value that you're going to ask for Ox, he's still got a couple of years, I think, on his contract. You're looking at 15 million probably in this market. English talent is still young. He's still 28 years old, I think he is. So that's the hard one, isn't it? It's the fee plus the wages plus he's injury prone. Who would want to buy that? That's the problem.
And I worry for him. That's why when I saw the news that he was injured till October, so it's going to be about 3 months, I was kind of devastated for him because I think he's a likable person and we know how important he's been for the dressing room and everything. And so, you know, next summer he'll be out of contract. I think we can be sure we're not going to give him a new contract. And I think it might be tough for him to find a suitable option that's in the Prem, for example. You know, although to be fair, Lingard got 200K a week, so who knows? But I was going to mention also...
That's great that you just said Jesse Lingard, 200K a week.
He's older. He's older than Ox and injury prone. But the other one that I want to mention as well, who I think doesn't get talked about enough, and as much as I love him, it's kind of similar to Ox. We know he's got the talent, is Naby Keita. Like, I really, really struggle with him because we know what he's capable of. And the worst part is even when he is fit, and he's probably fit a bit more than Ox, he's the most frustrating player to have because he has that game where he's the best player on the pitch. He can do absolutely everything, world class. And then he has 9 where he's just a ghost and you don't see him. And honestly, I'd rather have a million in the team than someone like this because it's just like it's not reliable. And the wages again are massive. The fee was massive, and it's just like with him, that's another one where I'm like, is it not the time for us to try to find a suitable club? And I think even when you're talking 15 to 20 million pounds, I think we should consider it.
That's what G's
and I hate to say it because he's so incredibly talented.
Naby's talented, but G's saying, like, in terms of Ox, he probably agrees with the same of Keita in terms of injury prone, talented, high transfer fee, high wages, and we're saying, like, who would take that because it's a big gamble? But G's saying Liverpool Football Club, that's who, because he has to be bitter, he has to be negative. G, I'm coming for you. He needs to come on a show and get his opinions across. So that's coming soon. Stay tuned for G. But we've got a lot of people that are saying he had a run of games during AFCON. He still got injured after the Brentford game. we see this all the time with Naby Keita. He's so talented. He has a great run of games, but you know the injuries coming. And we look at it now. Oxlade-Chamberlain, Naby Keita. I think Curtis Jones has picked up a knock as well.
Kelleher.
Kelleher.
Was that yesterday? Was that yesterday that he picked up an injury?
Curtis. Yeah.
So, because Curtis was probably guaranteed to start, I think, in the game.
Too, and he got injured
as well. But when we look at those central midfield positions, to have 3 players before the season's even begun to be out with an injury, that's why we need to strengthen. Because you look at Thiago at some point in the season, and I want to pin this up here somewhere. At some point in the season, he's going to get injured, and someone said, if I can find it, that Thiago needs to be protected this season. Here we go.
Yeah.
Praying for Thiago to stay fit for the whole next season.
We got to keep him for the big games.
Exactly.
Big games
we need to rest Thiago in the games that we know we can see through, because if he gets injured, and then you've got Henderson, who normally picks up an injury. We talk about Fabinho as well. He picks up that annual injury where he's out for 3-4 games. This is why we need to back up what we've got, isn't it? And we're not trying to be greedy. We just need to know that if 2 or 3 of those main starting central midfielders get injured, we can replace them like for like. If Fabinho got injured now, Leo, who do you even bring in that's of that level? Bajcetic has shown that he's good. He's been good, but he's not Fabinho level, is he? You don't feel as confident if he's starting over Fabinho.
Yeah, but I did think it was interesting as well how Tyler Morton, I forget which journalist, a really reliable source, was saying he was off to Blackburn, the same loan that Harvey was going to go off to. And then it seemed like they're actually like delaying that move, which shows that he does see a lot of potential in Tyler Morton in case, I think potentially if Fab gets injured, that he would get more of a role in the team. Obviously, probably Hendo would be first to be in that position just because of his experience, you know what I mean? And he's played there before in that position. But maybe Tyler Morton, I don't think he's ready for the big occasion, but he's talented.
I like Tyler Morton as a number 8. I prefer him in that position where Henderson is,
number 8,
rather than playing as a number 6. And I think Jay alluded to that in one of the shows or in the group chat, that Morton at number 8 he's been impressive. He's got a goal in him for the academy team, but again, academy level is different to
we saw
team.
yesterday against Strasbourg.
Exactly, we saw that yesterday. But we saw that yesterday. It was probably our senior players yesterday that let us down a little bit more than our academy players. I know Luke Chambers didn't have a great game, but Gomez and Kanate, that's something that we're looking at towards the future. It's not clicking at the minute, is it? Like, they don't seem to have that partnership that we all want them to have right now.
No.
Go on, Abs, you can answer that one.
Sorry, I was just going to say as well, Kanate's picked up that injury as well. So right before the start of the season, it's like the last thing that you need. That's why I with going back to the midfield, I think we will sign someone, because Klopp made it clear. He was like, unless we have injuries, we're not signing anyone. And he knew. I think Klopp knew that they were so prone to injuries that we probably would sign someone. I didn't watch the game yesterday. I was busy, but to click on my phone and be like, oh, injury update on like Jones, Kanate, it's like playing them in that game, that was pointless. We lose it 3-0. That sort of annoyed me. Do you know what I mean? In the end, that it's frustrated me that we've actually got injuries to like senior players in that game. But it's good for them to get game time, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think like as much as I want Gomez to be starting, because you just know how talented he is. We've got so much talent in defence now. Do you know what I mean? There's so much talent there. He's not in the starting 11. But I'm glad he stayed and took number 2. Like, I am glad that he stayed on, because he's still so young. Because he's been here for so long, we forget how young he actually still is, because he was playing for us when he was like still, like in his late teens. You forget, especially with Trent as well. Like the other day I was talking about like, oh, Virgil's like this, he's getting old, but he's still so talented. And then you remember like, oh, Trent and Robbo have been there so long, but when you look at how old they are, we've got them for so long. Like literally, if you look at how long we've got these players for, hopefully hopefully we can keep them for a while. But we do need to keep developing, like with Mane going and all that. We do need to keep things moving on. But I'm happy with it the way everything is at the minute. But that game yesterday, I didn't see it, so I couldn't really comment on anything. But yeah,
it wasn't too bad. I think everybody's thinking 3-0. It looks really bad against Strasbourg at home to Anfield. But in terms of the way results and performances go, there was some very positive signs in those performances. For example, Leo Carvalho was sensational. Harvey Elliott really seems to be stepping up as a senior player. And we say that 19 years of age, and he seems to be taking this responsibility on his shoulders now. So there were a lot of positives, weren't there, from yesterday's game?
Yeah. And then as well, when you talked about the center-back partnership, I think a part of Virgil's game as well that we don't talk enough about, just because it goes on seamlessly, is how good he makes his partners look. As in, he has so much confidence, his ability to just organize the back, just everything. The confidence, I think, for a center back must make the world of difference. You see him on the pitch, he takes them under his wing, and since all these guys are young, except Matip has more experience, like that must do everything for them. And that's why I think when he's not in the side, and we saw Ibu and Joe Gomez, it must be quite difficult because you're used to that. You're used to having that once in a generation talent next to you, which changes everything. It's just.
Do you think that's what's missing then when Van Dijk's not there? When we look at Gomez, we look at Konate, is that leadership missing from the partnership?
Yeah, definitely. And that's why it would be interesting to see that partnership with like a Robbo, because Robbo is a leader, and then even Trent. So I think it will. I'm interested to see this season if we can see the two best fullbacks in the world and then that center back partnership, because I think, or Ali behind them. Obviously Ali is world class. So that I think would change things, and that's why I think it's unfair to judge them based on the game from last night.
And we're forgetting as well, we've been playing with Adrian in goal,
he deserves a shout. I think he deserves a shout for Saturday. I hate to see all the hate that he's the hate that he gets on social media. I don't understand, because when you're a third option at goalkeeper, we saw, for example, with Zach, what's his name, Zach, the guy from City who made that mistake.
I was going to say Efron. I was going to say Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
No,
Zac Efron. Exactly.
Efron.
What's his name again?
I bet G knows. And
Zach. I think it's. But basically, that, for example, we know he's a talented keeper, for example, and I think it's unfair to judge third. And this is why Kelleher, I think, deserves so much credit for last season to be the second tier keeper and come in and perform the way that he did. I think is unbelievable. I love that kid, and he's still so young. 23 for a keeper is crazy. But Adrian deserves a lot of praise, because every time he's come in, maybe he's made little mistakes, but the thing is, he's also made some fantastic saves.
As a third goalkeeper, like you're saying, as a third goalkeeper, to make little mistakes, you're expecting third goalkeepers to concede so many goals. It's nice to have someone with that experience in there to kind of come in. He's a senior figure within the squad. You can see that he blends in well with everybody. He looks like he's an integral part to the dressing room as well. So it's great that he got the chance, especially pre-season. Again, another trophy for Adrian. He's adding these little trophies up at the end of his career. But we've got a comment from G Keeping It G. By the way, it's Zach Steffen. Zach Steffen.
Yeah.
I was close with Zac Efron. I was quite close with
Zac Efron. Very close.
G's put a comment on here. Who is it that we need to look at then? FSG or Klopp? And I thought, who better to answer G's question than the man himself? Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, G Keeping It G has been added to the show. Now, look at him with the smile, Mr. Negative with the Mr. Positive smile. Look at it. I want to see a frown on that face. Now, G, come on then. Who is it that we need to look at then? Let's answer your question. Oh, he's muted. G, you're muted. This was the biggest anticlimax in the history of podcasting. You
built all the hype. And then there was just nothing there.
Still can't hear. We've hyped you up, G, and I've muted you on purpose just to get
I'm
one
loving
back
the shirt,
at you.
though. I'm loving the shirt.
Now.
There we go. We can hear him now. G Keeping It G. Who's to blame?
No, I was just quickly. I was saying to what Leo just said there about Adrian, I agree, man. Like, people get onto Adrian. He's the third choice goalkeeper. You don't expect anything from him in general other than the few games he plays. I don't think people should get onto him. He's made mistakes, but it's not really that deep. He's won the Super Cup. He's now won the Community Shield. Let's give him a bit more respect. Kelleher, probably the best second goalkeeper. So when it comes to anyone outside the first goalkeeper, I don't think it's fair to kind of really get, because they don't play. And goalkeepers, it's a one-man position. So you may never play. And you might just get thrown in at the deep end and stuff like that. But with FSG and Klopp, that's what I wanted to ask you guys is, because Leo said it there, if Klopp had the chance, he would sign a Jude. Did he have the chance? Did he not have the chance? Is there a chance? But forget Jude, because he's not the only midfielder. There's other midfielders in the world of football. Surely there must be another midfielder that we can sign. There's been injuries now. We need centre midfield. We need a centre midfielder. We need a right winger. Like, there are positions that we still need just to get us to a position where we can at least say we've done everything. Once we get to that position, I don't care if we finish second. I genuinely wouldn't care, because then you can say we've done everything we can. Man City are just better. You can live with that as a human being, knowing that someone is better than you if you've done everything that you tried to do in your power. And we're not asking them to sign Mbappe, Haaland, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi. No, I'm not asking for that. I don't even want those guys. I want a team, but we do need to be able to just up the quality level. You guys have just spoken here about Keita and Ox. We rely on those two. They're the most injury players that we have, but we're relying on them. That doesn't even make sense. And then you got Hendo, who gets his injury. Fabinho gets it. That's an entire midfield we do not have in a season for at various points. Surely that must tell people that, or at least FSG or someone, that, hey guys, even one body, you know what, I won't even be greedy, just give me one body, just one guy who can just come in and who can just replace anybody who is injured, so that we don't have to have conversations about Curtis Jones. We're not having conversations about Harvey Elliott. We're not asking too much for Fabio Carvalho. Where you guys were speaking about Vegetate, forget him. He's later on. I don't want to throw him in, because I want him to develop. He looks like such a good player. I don't want to just throw him in there and it's like, I need you to be as good as Fabinho right now. That's unfair on him. You know, and I wouldn't want to do that to any of the youngsters. Forget yesterday's result. That just more showed the difference in, would I say, like, our second team and how they can play second/third team. But it was more about the style of play and the things that we weren't doing that was more alarming than the 3-0. We could have lost 10-0. We could have lost 4-0, 5-0. Then, you know what I mean?
Say 10-0.
I'm thinking 10, but I thought, nah, that's a bit too much. That's a bit too much. But we could have lost. The losing isn't the problem. I don't care if we lose pre-season games. It's what you're seeing. And we're seeing the same patterns of play with the injuries. And now we've got a list of, I think, about over 5 or 6 players who are injured at this current moment in time, that we haven't even started the season. we haven't even started game 1, and we already have injuries with no new signings. So you can understand the frustration from fans who are saying it's not about who you buy, it's what you're actually buying. Forget the amount. You could go and spend 20 million. That's fine with me. You can spend the 20 million on a player if that's the player who can replace anybody, etc., etc. And I think that's just what we're trying to look for, is who is making these key decisions, because ultimately this is going to have an impact on the club moving forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, G keeping it G. He came in and he answered that question very thoroughly. But just for a disclaimer, G, I'll put this up there for you. By the way, he loves Klopp.
Yeah, I love Klopp. I do love Klopp.
Yeah, but if it is Klopp, and I agree, if Klopp is making these decisions, like we've just seen, it was definitely Klopp that kept Milner on. But I think Milner's been kept on for the dressing room, for the professionalism, for things like, but is there not a staff role for that? Do we need to keep players on as players? But when you look at Milner, he's still performing, so you kind of got to give him his dues for that one. But Abigail, when G's saying things like, there are players available out there, it doesn't have to be Jude Bellingham. We're not saying, Klopp, go out there and get Jude Bellingham or nothing else. We're not asking for that. Yes, it would be perfect. But you look at Arsenal, they're going in for Tielemans. Why are we not challenging Arsenal? Because for a fact, Tielemans would rather come to Liverpool than go to Arsenal. So if he's available, why would Liverpool not go in for him, given our status of injuries at the minute?
I think when Klopp knows who he wants, though, he'd rather wait out. Do you know what I mean? Like, Klopp's not willing to waste the funds, whatever FSG will give him. And I don't think the decisions are Klopp's. I think Klopp tells them what he wants and they'll go, oh, we'll think about it, or that's not in the budget, or whatever. But I think we get who Klopp wants in the end, but there's probably like a short list of 3 or whatever, but he wants who's at the top. And if he's we probably haven't been told this, but if Dortmund have said to us, give us a year and we might sell Bellingham to you, Klopp might just be going, we'll make do until I get who I want, who I know will be perfect, rather than settling. I mean, I know that, like you said, there's so many other midfielders out there, there's so many more talented players, and Klopp makes world-class players. We don't have to buy them already made. So I'm sure whoever, if we do sign anyone, which I think we will, I 100% think we will. I feel like that comment about we won't sign unless we have injuries, Klopp knew that we'd end up with injuries and we will get someone. But I just feel like when Klopp wants his man, he'll wait out. He'll sit there and he'll wait it out. So, I mean, we'll see, won't we? But if Klopp's happy with what we've got, but the injuries, I mean, I just worry. I don't want another season where, like 2 years ago, where we were like desperate for Champions League football and Alisson had to score to bloody get us it. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to get to that point again.
That is the biggest worry, though. Like, we don't think, if you look at it now on face value, if everybody stays fit, and I think G would agree with this as well, if everyone stays fit and we can guarantee that, I'm happy going into the season with this squad. But we know for a fact that we're injury prone within those central midfield positions. Keita's not going to hold up. Ox isn't. That's been shown already. Even when you look at Jota, like, that's a couple of seasons now that Jota's picked up this kind of long-term, long absence injury. I think it's not a case of, yes, Klopp wants his man, Leo, but do you think go for your man maybe next summer, but bring someone in? If he doesn't bring someone in, do you think Carvalho is going to have a lot more responsibility this season?
Yeah, no, definitely. And you know, you mentioned Yuri Tielemans, for example. Every time I watch him for Leicester, I think he wouldn't be a good fit, just to give an example, because the way he tracks back, you know, he's got bags of talent, but I don't know if he'd fit in terms of the legs, the way, you know, his style of play. I just don't see him fitting our style. But it's tough to say. Like, you look at those midfield options, and Fabio Carvalho is definitely going to add that aspect, but he's such a different player to a Hendo, to a Fabinho. We were talking about Fabinho before, and I feel like, you know, Fabio Carvalho can be that extra icing on the cake kind of midfielder, but he's not that type, which I think Gini, we talked about Gini in the past, and I'm going to bring him back, but that Gini type of player who's going to go unnoticed, but he does the work for the team. It feels like we don't have a lot of that, and they get injured. And those are the type of midfielders that I think our club system, when we're at our best, we have those guys who just do all the running, Hendo type players who track back, and we let Diaz, Darwin, and Mo do their magic. We know they're going to score goals. We know with our fullbacks, they're going to score goals. We saw Trent at the weekend. We see how many assists they get. Our midfielders don't have that role. And somebody like Fabio Carvalho and Harvey, as much, like, they're so talented, I think when we play at our best, they're not in that midfield 3. You know, just because in those top games, we know how we play with those middle 3, you know. And
this is what's great about having them, though, Leo. Like, this is what we've asked for, because that impact from the bench. Yes, start with Thiago, Hendo, and Fabinho. That's fine. See if we can do it the way Liverpool do it. But what we've not seen in previous years is that impact from the bench. But now it looks like Carvalho,
but if Thiago,
Elliott,
you know, if Thiago and Hendo get injured, just imagine who do we have to go in there?
Exactly,
who do we have?
Saying,
you know what I mean? Even Curtis, you know, Curtis, who you love, for example, I love him too. He has so much talent, but sometimes, and I think of Spurs, for example, sometimes his decision making isn't the best, right?
I agree with you, Leo. Don't worry, I'm on your side.
Yeah, okay. But in those top,
I can remove you two really quick, you know, from this live.
But you know, in the top fixtures. We saw, for example, I'll think of Spurs, and I think every time we'll
Yeah.
play Spurs this season, it's going to be so tight because of how good they are under Conte, how intelligent they are. Remember how tight the margins were when we drew 1-1 to them at Anfield. Remember when we were trying to win the title?
Yeah.
That type of game, you put Curtis in there, and I don't have 100% confidence. I'm afraid that he's going to try a little dribble, lose, and then on the counterattack, they have Human Son and Harry Kane, and they're
It's
lethal.
a case of
those
what's
are
he
the
going
games.
to do, isn't it, Leo? It's a case
Thank
of
you, Leah.
listen, I'm agreeing a little bit more with Curtis. I think we all agree that he's full of talent, but he needs to be utilised in a way that we've seen Carvalho being utilised at the start of this season or in pre-season. It's like you said, if you come on in the Spurs game and you've got Curtis Jones, what's he going to do? Is he going to try and drag us forward and play that risky pass, get us a goal? Is he going to be defensive? And he's kind of caught in a taboo kind of no man's land at the minute. And that's
my same concern. You know, with Fabio Carvalho and Harvey Elliott, I love them bits.
Yeah.
But that's my same concern, and they don't. Their decision making, I would say, is probably better than Curtis. But it's that thing where I do think we always play our best football with Genie type players, and that's why I think losing someone like Genie has been massive for us, and we haven't replaced him.
Is that a case then, Leo? Is that a case of Klopp knows that Curtis Jones is a Carvalho style player, but he's the only one out of Keita, Carvalho, Elliott that can potentially be the more solid Wijnaldum style player, and that's why he's trying to squeeze him into that mold as a replacement for Thiago.
But I don't know if he's that player. That's the problem.
No, that's it.
I think again, it probably means this is more an FSG side. You know, G was asking that question previously. I think there are some times where FSG probably say, you know, you have one chance to sign. Let's say it's midfield. You have one chance to sign a midfielder. We're gonna fully back you like we did with Nunes, but make it right. You know, we're not here to waste money. So we'll sign who you want, but if he doesn't perform, we're not going to let you have a second bid at it. We're not. And that's why, you know, the Nunes type signings, I think that's exactly how it went down. It's like, we'll back you, but it's not like a City where if it doesn't work out, we'll just sell that player off and just sign a new one.
No, I agree. G, let's get you back in here because this kind of comment is right for you. We could be waiting for a player who won't join us. Like, this is what we're saying. Abs has said, let's go and get Bellingham because that's who Klopp wants. That's Klopp's man. I get that's Klopp's man. Klopp knows maybe next season there might be an agreement. But we need to think about right now, don't we? Like we've said, we're trying to fit square pegs into round holes with Curtis Jones when we could just go out and buy someone. Is this what Latif has said? Tchouameni always wanted to go to Real Madrid. We were never in the race, but for Bellingham, it'll be a battle of projects. It's okay saying that, we'll get Bellingham next summer, but whenever Real Madrid comes into the race, depending on how successful we are and they are next season, things change. So is this why we need to act now rather than waiting? You said Liverpool, and I'll quote you, are a reactive team. Is that true?
100%. Leo and Abby literally touched it. I agree with them both when they say with Klopp, he does, if he wants a player, like he really wants a player, we get that player. Van Dijk obviously being one of the key examples. We wanted him, we got him, kind of thing. When it comes to you just look at the last few signings that we've made in the last 2-3 seasons, bar maybe Thiago. I feel like most of them have been based on injuries or because, you know, Klopp might just be worried about a specific position, you know, midfield. I feel like with Thiago, that was literally just chance. That was just, he's available, we can get him. He wants to come, we can get him, kind of thing. So we got him. But you look at like Diaz. Diaz was, I think they knew that Mane might leave, or they had at least an inkling that we're not keeping both Mane and Salah. So one of them is guaranteed to go. So if we get Diaz in, that's another player, you know, to kind of replace that. And then obviously you get in Nunes. But again, Nunes is more the reactionary signing to losing a Mane. And I feel like you kind of have to get a Nunes and Diaz to kind of supplement that because Mane is on a world-class level. Those two are not. They might get there, but they're not there yet. So it's hard to kind of just throw them in and say, yeah, we need 20 goals from you both, guaranteed. If not, then, you know, it's kind of a waste. Then you look at Kanate, reactionary signing. We had no centre-backs.
Yeah.
We needed a centre-back, and you faffed about and got 2 crappy ones. Then you sign Kanate, when that would have made sense in the summer, when we wouldn't have had to waste money on a Ben Davis or a Kabak.
Yeah.
It would have just solved that problem, you know, straight away. You don't need to wait for something to happen. Midfield, we have no
It's
midfield.
not just that, G. That I think that period, not getting Kanate, that's kind of ruined the development as well for Reece Williams.
Yes.
I feel like that kind of, it made him come into the first team too soon. And then when he went out the first team, it was like, what do we do with Reece now? He's played in a Champions League, and now all of a sudden he's got to go back to under 21s. And we're seeing him now. He's too good for the 21s. He doesn't work on loan moves because he's not really ready for senior football yet. So that has had a negative impact across the board. And like Phillips on the wage bill, trying to get rid of him because his price has gone too high because of how well he performed. Nobody wants to pay for that. So it was crazy, the kind of knockback effect. And this happens all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's like surely you knew, like, Lovren left. So didn't anybody say to themselves, we might need another defender, like just one, considering that you have 2 others who are injury prone? Surely someone has to look at these things. Maybe in training it's too intense, but honestly, I don't really know, because Thiago came here. I never heard about his injury record like this.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this guy is picking up injuries left, right, and center. The only durable ones are like Salah. Salah seems to be the only guy who never picks up an injury, and if he does, it's like a game or 2. You know, the odd occasion he might be out for a bit longer, but it's just too reactionary, man. Like, if you want Jude, you get Jude now, because you're basing getting Jude next season on really and truly winning one of the big 2 this year to at least show that there's a level of progression. Otherwise, we haven't progressed. We've kind of just stayed at a medium high level. Of course, look, it sounds like I'm moaning because we're finishing second, which isn't a bad thing. And I'm not trying to.
It is, though, isn't it? It is a bad thing because we've got the manager, we've got the players, we've got everything, but we've just not had that backing that we're asking for.
And
if it doesn't work, I think all of us, and you'll agree, we'll all go, do you know what? It's not worked.
Yeah.
Let's go back to what did work for us, and we'll just keep trying to fight against Man City. And it's a guarantee that it's going to work.
But to jump off a point that Az mentioned earlier as well, you know, that you were saying up, you know, where Klopp will be seen in 50, 60 years, up with Bill Shankly, you know, the greatest the club has ever seen. I do agree that if we look back and we say that we've won 1 Champions League, 1 Premier League, it's gonna be a little devastating just because of the magnitude of manager, the magnitude of players that we had, and that's the bit where you're a little bit like, oh, if we can just get a little bit more, you know what I mean? Because it is that special. You don't get, this is once in a generation what we have right now. You know, that's why it feels like we're that close.
Yeah, and I feel like I feel like a lot of people are saying, like, you've got some Reds that are going, no, just be grateful for what you've got, like, accept what you've got. Like, this is a great time, just live in the moment. Just
Thank you,
we're accepting and appreciating what we have, but because we appreciate it so much, we want them to back what we've got, because this is never going to happen again. So in hindsight, is it a case of, if you want Bellingham and the club know that next season Bellingham's going to come, and he said, like, I'm going to come next season, why not just do that deal right now? Why wait for 12 months instead of getting... If he comes this season, we could literally do what we did last season and go a step further, because that would be quality in the team. Plus, what was that sound there?
The cat. It's the cat shouting at me for food. I am sorry.
Plus,
Manchester,
Manchester City are a little bit weaker this season, in my opinion, in terms of depth. So this is the time to go, we are number 1. Bellingham, get in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been saying it for ages that I want Bellingham. I mean, there's no other name I can think of that I want as much. Do you know what I mean? He just fits us perfectly. But I'm not about, like, temporary fixes. Do you know, like, oh, we'll we'll just get someone, spend 15 million or
Yeah.
something now. He'll do. Do you know what I mean? If we need him. And then we'll get Bellingham. And I don't think FSG are like that either. I don't think they're willing to give even like a little bit out of the pot to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like when we go back to Davies and Kabak and all that, like it was wasted really. I mean, we needed Kabak at the time and all that, but don't even think Davies kicked the ball. Do you know what I mean? When you think about
it, we didn't need Kabak and Davis at the time because we just went. I think the problem was we were trying to put Hendo and Fabinho in there when really just put Phillips and Reece Williams in there, like from the beginning, get a partnership going. That would have worked for us. But it was again the FSG kind of yo-yo kind of thing. But what you're saying, Abs, in terms of why do a short-term fix? There's no point in signing somebody who then, when Bellingham comes next season, they're not going to have a role within the squad. I agree with that. So that says, doesn't it? Just go and get who you want now.
Yeah, that's it. But it's, if they're not willing to budge on it, then they're not willing to budge on it. You know, like Dortmund, if they're not willing to give them up, that's the only thing. But I think at the same time, you can be really proud of what we've done. Like, Klopp's done amazing things. He's won everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's some people who support other clubs like Everton and that are probably thinking, how can you even, like, you know, like, tut at that and think that that's not enough? But you want to create, like a dynasty. I don't like talking about Alex Ferguson, but, you know, if you want that sort of, like, endless count of continuous winnings, do you know what I mean? Continually doing it, and Klopp can do that. But I'm quite happy to see that City is sort of just, like, selling loads of the players. Like, did you see that about like Silva this morning for Barcelona?
Crazy,
I don't like.
Is he going to Barcelona?
My dad texted me this morning and was like, I don't know what their game is. You know, like sending me the tweet like I don't know like what they're playing at, but maybe this would be a good season for us. I think maybe.
Literally, I don't know.
I think it's to do with money. I think that they're trying to balance the books with these sales, but they're doing it in a. These are players that they can sell, really. Bar Bernardo Silva, Jesus and Sterling, they can sell.
Yeah.
Bernardo Silva is a weird one. I didn't know about that, but that's a very weird. I would have kept him, to be honest. But if they're going to sell him, but Man City and Barcelona, they need to be investigated anyway because this isn't making any sense. I don't really get what's going on. Barcelona,
that in itself.
It's so true. They've probably come up with some agreement, haven't they? Like, oh, do you know what? I'll give you Bernardo Silva if you send me an invoice for £500 million.
Literally,
we'll sell him to you for $2 million.
Don't cash it, though. Don't cash it anytime soon.
Don't cash it. Don't put your VAT number on the receipt as well.
Yeah.
But let's move on because we've still got a part of the show to do, and it's a bit of a celebration. We've still got trophy cabinet to do. So let's pull up our trophy cabinet for this week, and it has to be the one, the only Darwin Núñez. Let's start with Leo for this one. We've spoke about him a little bit, but what do you see this season for Núñez? Should we expect a lot from him, or should we just go in with the expectation of let him have a season? Or does that price tag kind of come with, you've not got that opportunity, you've got to start performing because 85 million, I want something in return for it?
I think we can all kind of in the back of our minds expect a lot, but I think I mentioned it before, but I think especially for strikers with big fees, the best thing is to not put a load of pressure on them, because if you just let them play their game, we know how naturally talented he is. Everyone talks about it who watched the Portuguese league, that he's once in a generation talent. He was playing actually in the second division in Spain, Jose told me, for Almeria before, and he moved for £20 million to Benfica. That like blew for a second division side in Spain. The previous like record fee was 8 million, so he more than doubled it when he was 20 years old. Imagine. So he's this generation. He is a talent, but more low key than Haaland, and I think that's actually going to help him because it means that, you know, a lot of, and we've seen the hate he's getting already. We're not expecting him to score 25 plus goals. We're expecting him, because he's still young, 22, 23. We expect him to kind of take his time, get it. And we obviously have in the back of our minds expectations, especially after the weekend. But I think the way we'll see the best of him is just to let him be. Let him do his thing. Let Mo take all the pressure, because Mo loves pressure. We see it every time there's pressure, he rises. That's why he's a great. Put all the pressure on Mo. And you know, let him do his thing. And I think if we let him do his thing, he'll be phenomenal. And that's why I think it could be a match made in heaven. So
it could be. Gee, is that the main point that Leo's made here? That All the pressure's on Haaland. This is the perfect time to sign Nunes because Haaland is the name. He comes with a reputation. He comes with guaranteed goals. Everyone's going to be looking at him to get close to 30 goals in the Premier League. I'm not going to lie. So nobody's thinking Nunes is going to outscore him. That fits perfectly into Nunes' hands, doesn't it? He can come and do his own thing. Plus, he probably is the type of player to me, when he celebrated to that goal, it was kind of, you've doubted me. You thought Haaland was going to be the guy, but I'm the guy. I think he likes that challenge and he likes to rise up to the occasion. What do you think he's going to do this season? How many goals do you think we should expect from Nunes this season?
I'm like Leo. In the back of your head, 40. But in realistically,
that's exactly how I am. Exactly.
You know, realistically, 15, and I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. You know, you've done. If he gets 15 in the Prem and then whatever elsewhere, phenomenal. Like that's a very good season. But with Nunes, I don't know, man. It's just a tricky one. I have no real expectancy, and I'm not expecting anything. Like I'm not even. I'm judging Fabio Carvalho more than I'm judging Nunes, basically, because Carvalho has been in the English league. He's someone we see a lot more often. There isn't so much of an enigma with him. Nunes, we don't really know. Like we're all sitting here. None of us really know how that's going to work. The benefit is City have to change the way they play to fit Haaland in. We don't really have to change the way we play to fit Nunes in. It would just benefit him a bit more if we did, so to speak, like 4-2-3-1. It might just help him. But I feel City have got a lot more work to do to fit Haaland in than we do to fit Nunes in. Hence why I think Nunes would probably outscore Haaland this season. But if City click it, Haaland will score too many goals. That will be it. But Nunes can probably outscore him this. Don't be shocked if he does. Don't be shocked if he does. I'm going for 15.
15 goals. Premier League goals.
Oh, Premier League, I'm going for 11. 15 all competitions.
Okay, 11.
But 11's all right. 11's good. If Salah can get me 20, then that's
like, I'm expecting that from Diaz this season, to be honest. I'm expecting.
I don't think Diaz will touch double goals.
Oh gosh!
I'm clipping this, and then
that's fine. That's fine.
Like,
that's fine.
Literally clipping this. Abs.
He'll get double assist. He'll get double assist.
Okay, so double assist for
goals.
not double goals.
Yeah,
I like that one. So Abs, it's over to you. Nunes this season.
That's what I was going to say about Diaz, though. That's the only thing. Was I was going to say, we're all underestimating Diaz here. Like Diaz might do more. Do you know what I mean?
True,
and then
true.
You say that. No,
I've got a case.
He might. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Have we got a case then of what we've seen from Man City in past seasons where you don't know where the goal's going to come from now? If we're when you look at last season, if there was a game where we played, say, Firmino, Mane, and Salah, at first we didn't know where that goal was coming from. But the more time's gone on, we kind of know it's going to come from Mo if it's going to come from anyone. Whereas now, with Diaz, because let's not forget, Diaz gets the most shots off in a game more than anyone. Yeah. So eventually that's going to come where they get on target a little bit more, where his percentages increase. And then we've got Nunes, who's a guaranteed goal scorer. Then we've got Mo Salah, who's Mo Salah. This is the biggest threat for us, isn't it? Which one of those three, if you had to put your money on it right now, who's going to get the most goals this season?
Salah, 100%. 100% Salah, it will be. You can just tell. I expect, especially with him having I don't think he's going to have that much Egypt sort of things to do. Do you know what I mean? I feel like he's going to be able to focus on the club itself. Yeah. I'm hoping. But do you know what I was going to say, which is quite funny? Do you know if Robertson could learn how to shoot on target, he'd get double figures, you know?
I'm telling you now.
That he gets he just scars it. He gets into the right position, just when we were saying about how Diaz might not get double figures. If Robertson was taught to learn how to shoot.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind where the goals come from as long as we score them, but I can see Salah's definitely going to get. I can see Salah get more than Nunes this season.
Yeah. Get Yonan Arisa down at Liverpool with Robbo for a week, and Robbo's getting so many goals. That's why, though, I've said in the past that Samikas should be given that chance, I feel, a lot more this season because when Samikas is in those positions, he's going to shoot on sight and he will get you the goals that Robertson doesn't. But then, in a sense, you're kind of losing that defensive kind of input.
Yeah.
Who do you see playing more this season? Do you see,
I mean,
in fact, same with number 9,
No.
do you see
Yeah.
Nunes playing more than Bobby Firmino? Do you
But-
see Samikas and Robbo? Who's coming out on top?
Yeah. Well, for the left back position, I actually talked to Jose about it because obviously he was a left back, so it's always interesting to hear his input. And I have to say, like, I do feel like Costas has been unbelievable. I love him, but I feel like with Costas coming in, Robbo's gotten a little bit, like, he's gone under the radar for me in a little bit in terms of like he's not getting the same praise he used to, and I think he's unbelievably well-rounded. And I asked Jose actually, if you could have one of the two, Trent or Robbo, for one season, he said Robbo. For him, Robbo's the better fullback. He's the better fullback in terms of his all-around. And obviously Trent is for the future, but today Robbo has it all. Maybe he can't finish, but okay, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? He scored a big goal. I think it was against Burnley. The header in the back post.
Yeah.
So just in terms of being complete fullback, I think Costas is nowhere close, actually. Like, I'm sorry, but I think in the big games, I would play Robbo every day of the week.
I think a lot of people, Leo, what you're saying, they underestimate Robbo because they feel like Virgil van Dijk does a lot of the work on the left.
Yeah.
But what we've seen, when Costas is playing, a lot of opportunities do come from that right-hand side, don't they?
Yeah, and that's why I think, for example, with let's say when Darwin starts, because we know he can really deliver with his right foot too. We saw in the cup sometimes he would shift it onto his right, and it would actually be fantastic crosses. I think Costas in games, for example, where maybe it's harder to break down the opposition. Burnley at home. Actually, there will be no Burnley, but
no Burnley this season.
Nottingham Forest. Here we go. Nottingham Forest at home, right? Those will be tough ones. They're really well, suited defensively. Those type of games, I think it could make a lot of sense to have Costas. But in any top, like, Champions League final, whatever it is, for me, Robbo, you trust this. You trust him. He has experience. He's a leader. He has everything. It's just like you said, Costas has that little bit more sometimes going forward where he just like pings balls all the time, and so
I think it's the perfect match, isn't it, with Costas and Robbo? It's kind of, if those two stay fit all season, you have no trouble whatsoever at left back. Because you've got the perfect player to swap and integrate. If something's not going well in a game, bring Costas on, get more crosses in the box. It's a perfect match. And I hope that's what we see with Ramsey and Trent as well on the right-hand side. I'm hoping that's what we see.
And I was just going to quickly say also for the left wing, I think something to look out for more this season is Diego Jota coming in from the left. We saw. Yes, there we go. Oh my, I was going to say what I think we underestimate is him on the left side. Sometimes I feel like we see the best of him cutting in from the left. We saw in the Carabao Cup against Arsenal, he was unplayable that day, where he just takes on players. And and we know Diaz is incredible at doing that. But to have a backup option for Diaz, I feel like Diego Jota is unbelievable in that position. And now we have Darwin through the middle. So we have Darwin, we have Bobby, we have an incredible backup for Diaz. And then right wing, I think, is where we need that little bit more. We talked about it previously, but that's the only place where I feel like if Mo isn't playing, but he'll play every big game, hopefully, that's where I feel like we needed someone. Even though we have Harvey,
Yeah, Abigail, do you think the only place where we come unstuck? I like what Leo's saying in terms of we've got that great depth, we've got good impact from the bench, people coming on from the bench. Do you feel like Jota and Firmino offer the impact from the bench that, say, maybe Nunes would or Diaz would? Could you see maybe a Nunes or a Diaz starting on the bench on a few occasions because they would offer a little bit more of a spark to come on and get a goal?
Yeah, I think so. But do you know what? When you think about it, when Firmino comes on, he changes games, like completely changes games. Like you can think back to last season or even before that, he just comes on and he changes the game.
The Champions League final.
Yes.
Yeah, And then you think about Jota. I mean, I know he's injured now, but when he first come in, I was thinking like, whoa, like who've we signed here? You know what I mean? This will be like starting 11. This is it, sort of thing. He was getting his song and everything. We were all buzzing with it. Just like injuries and stuff like that can sort of delay that a bit. But how lucky are we that we've got all of them? Do you know what I mean? Like we've literally got so many options up front now when you think about it. But I think Nunes for the first half of the season will start on the bench, and I think then he will come on and score goals. But with Diaz starts for me. Diaz always starts for me. Diaz and Salah now.
Diaz and Salah are definitely
consistently. Yeah, for me.
And I think that's good because that's your main left winger, your main right winger, and then you've got Jota, Firmino, Nunes. All can play that central role and offer something different in that role as well. So I think that could work perfect. I think, yes, like Leo said, we might see Jota from the left-hand side on a few occasions, but that's probably to give Diaz the rest. Do you know what I mean? Like Diaz is going to need a rest. I think we'll see Carvalho, Leo, a few times on that left wing because that pre-season match against Leipzig, that's the one where he was left wing, Harvey right wing, Nunes in the middle. That was a good combination for me.
Yeah, definitely. But still, like it reminds me, and I hate to say with Coutinho, but there are those moments where it feels like we need that bit of magic. And I love having that in the midfield because sometimes we just need someone to. And was it against Leipzig? Yeah, it was an assist for Darwin against Leipzig where it was really a flashback. Where I don't know if you remember, I think he flicked it over, then headed it, and he just went through and then passed it like perfect pass for Darwin, who just did one touch finish. It was. And those are the moments where it feels like he has that little bit of trickery. He said in his interview when he signed that he loves to just take players on, and sometimes it feels like we need that. And I don't know if he has the pace on the wing. That's my only concern. I feel like we're really strong on the wing is when we have a pacey winger to just counter. That type.
That is true, and like G said here with Bobby's getting to the back end of his career, if you think about it. Like, we can't really go, do you know what? Bobby Firmino is going to be that guy like he has been. He's been reliable for Liverpool, but we can't rely on him week in, week out now to be in the starting team to perform. I think now's the time to change. This is the time, and I think with saying Nunes is in, Carvalho's in, we're seeing a different type of Liverpool. One more little nice signing added to that, this season could be so special, Leo. What do you see for the season? Before we leave, that's what I want from you both. This season, if we don't sign anyone with the squad that we've got, what do you think is a realistic target for Liverpool?
I think last season is so underestimated. The things we achieved last season, like that final week, I don't think Reds realized just how close. I was there at the Champions League final, and I can tell you what happened pre-match changed everything. I'm sure of it. I think 9 times out of 10 we beat Real. Like I genuinely, I think it was the unluckiest of things because our players that were on the pitch, they were on the phone because I saw it happen. They were on the phone with their families who got attacked outside.
It's not only that, Leo's had a power cut. We can still see you, Leo. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's not only that though. It's not only that though, Leo. It's the fact that the fans, after getting into the stadium, your head's not on the game then. So Liverpool's strength is the fans' voice. It's the fans getting behind the team. And they weren't in that game.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, for me, for example, it was everything I dreamed of since a kid to go to that Champions League final. Like I couldn't sleep for weeks before. And yet when kickoff started, I'm telling you, I did not care about the result. Like safety was more important than anything. And I'm sure that for the players, especially because we play on emotion as a team, and Real are more like a robotic machine type thing, that affected us. And I think if we would have won the Champions League and the other cups last season, it would have been a whole different thing. And we were better than Real. We're a better team than them. It was a freak thing happened.
That was the one game where if I had to put a bet on, I would have been like Champions League final. We've got this wrapped up. I didn't see any threat whatsoever. I maybe thought not Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr. and Trent maybe, but Trent always steps up for the big games, and I just felt confident. And it was one of those. Even when the game was going on, even when we went 1-0, I still thought Liverpool are still going to win this, and it just didn't happen. But it's because of what happened before the
It's
match.
because of what
100%.
happened.
Everyone will
And
tell you.
yeah, and to go back to your question, sorry, I went a bit off track. I think we can go for the. I think what actually G said before is I think because we won the 2 domestic cups last season, I think Klopp is instead gonna go all in for the
Yeah.
2 major ones because now we can say we won the whole lot. We know what those felt like, but we really need another another Champions League, and I think we can really go to the very, very, very end of both of those competitions,
Yeah.
and then who knows what happens.
Abs, we've got G saying second in the league, but far in the Champions League, but not close in the league. G's not optimistic about this season. Mr. Negative. Do you see how he's all smiles when he comes on the show?
Yeah.
And then when he's in the comments, he's just like the Grinch. So,
Yeah.
what do you think this season? Do you think that we're going to prioritise Premier League, Champions League?
I think 100%. Like the kids are playing the League Cup, the FA Cup. I mean, if we get to, which we probably won't, depending on who we draw. If we get to a semi-final or final, then we'll go full strength. But I think it'll be the kids. But the chances of getting to a position like that with just the kids, I don't even think it'll be like Gomez and that. Like, I honestly don't think he'll risk it because he'll want to go like full strength in the Champions League and the league. But I think if we don't get any more injuries, the injuries that we've got now get resolved within the next like couple of months or so, we can cope. If we don't get any more injuries after that, or only get the odd, you know what I mean, like smaller injury, I think we will win the league. Like I do, I think we win the league this season. I do. Like I don't know about the Champions League because you never know with knockout competitions. Like it only takes like, you know, we were talking about Adrian before. People still hold that Atletico Madrid game against them. Do you know what I mean? It only takes a bad performance like that to get knocked out or something like that. But the league, every week, constantly, we know how to get 90 plus points. And I don't think City get 90 plus points this season. I think we do.
I'm with you, Abs. I think the Premier League this season,
I agree.
is Liverpool's to lose. I really think
and the Champions League.
And the Champions League as well. Okay. Man City are going to prioritise that because they've got Haaland. They're going to prioritise the Champions League. I hope Manchester City go all the way to the final, players in the final and lose because they're going to be distracted. Like G's just said in a comment here, he said that when City decide to go on a run, no team stops them. We're the same, but they seem to do it like a game earlier. And this is the point. When Liverpool, we'll start the season strong. We might get to Christmas top of the league. And we might think Man City have played terrible, but they'll still be within 3 points. They seem to be good at keeping hold of what we do. Now, I think the World Cup this year is going to play a huge part.
Exactly.
Because Liverpool normally have a lull, but we're going to have that chance to do a pre-season all over again and then be recharged, ready to go again for the second half, which is going to play into our hands. And like G said, if we go on a run, City go on a run, nobody stops us. If we're top of the league before we go to the World Cup, I'm going to guarantee now that we win the Premier League because we're going to prioritise that. I want I think if I had to choose, sack everything else off. I'm not interested. Champions League, FA Cup, whatever. I just want the Premier League's just the one that we need to get hold of. Stop City from getting so many in a row. And then we move on to next season with Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
And then we can win 4 trophies.
No, I want those European away days, please. Let's make the final at least. Let's make the final at least.
Let's make the final. You can't beat champions. Like the atmosphere.
Or get City in the knockouts. Imagine getting City in the semis. They come to Anfield for the second leg.
Oh my goodness. That would be beautiful. But on that note, that is the end of the show. It's been crazy in the comments. So many people tuning in. G, as negative as he's been, he said, I love you all, lol. So, G, we love you as well, Mr. Negative, but that's kind of, I think you're just Scrooge now. I think we're going to change your username to Scrooge and not G keeping it G. But literally, everybody in the comments, we appreciate you today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Absolute. You get what I've done there? Absolute pleasure. That was a good one. It looks like Abigail's, but we've had everything. We've had Abigail chasing birds. Abigail's cat's been growling at us. Then we had G hijacking the show. Then Leo had a power cut. I think the bird flew across to Leo's apartment and cut the power off. But one thing we guarantee is that we bring the heat every single time on Weekly Drip. It's been a pleasure. We've got someone in the comments just asking before we go for an FPL league. There is going to be a fantasy league this season. Tune in on Wednesday morning for Prem Heads. We're going to choose our Kloppzone team on the Prem Head show. So please make sure you tune in. We'll give you the league code on the show, and then we can get going. And I'm pretty sure Leo's going to have a fantasy league as well with Liverpool goals and everything like that. So please get tuning in to Abigail, get tuning into Leo's goals, Liverpool goals. But until next time, you two, it's been an absolute pleasure. You'll never walk alone. Peace. Right.